to be illumined, to show the way for us to move forward. I saw a church sign that caught my attention. And this could apply to us individually too. It says, "Don't confuse what can't be done with what hasn't been done yet." Isn't that a great reminder? You know, when that little voice might just try to poo-poo things like, oh, you know, we already tried that, didn't work. And then the voice of possibility says, well, maybe that was true then, but what about now, you know? If it could work, what would it look like? The little voice, you know, likes to argue. That will never happen because too expensive, too time-consuming, it's crazy. And then the voice of possibility is, well, what if it wasn't those things? What would that look like? What would that look like? Charles Fillmore called divine imagination, I love this, the chisel we wield in molding the paradise of our inner thought kingdoms. Isn't that a great image, like an artist, you know? Or an artist of the mind. And he adds, through divine imagination, our soul first gets the impulse to expand. Imagination is one of our powers, our spiritual powers that watches for every opportunity to express itself. It does, doesn't it? That imagination popping out. So right now there's a divine imagination that's going on with the soul's expansion, whether we're aware of it or not. And by using our power of imagination to envision the highest and the best, we can work with it to create those wonderful things in our lives. And think of, you have already created wonderful things in your lives, right? So many wonderful things in your life. So we know we do this not by forcing things, but by allowing and inviting new pictures, new possibilities onto the screen of our minds. So faith and imagination work together. We capture a divine idea through our imaginations, and then our faith allows us to hold that idea and to take the steps to its fruition. And it also guides us to the action steps to take. Imagination or vision without action is merely entertainment. It's one of my mentors used to say. So right use of these spiritual powers is the key. Faith in God and good at work and imagining the best. Imagining the best. So what is a divine idea? How do we know it's a divine idea? There's a little discernment there too, right? So divine ideas are uplifting. They're positive. They often give you goosebumps. They're inspiring. They reach beyond private good to bless others. And divine ideas will often cause us to grow and do things we haven't done before or a little bit differently. Divine ideas give us energy, zest, and a yes. And often with a divine idea, you don't know how it's going to work because the idea is bigger than your current frame of reference. It's bigger than your past. It is new territory. So, the destination of a dream is wonderful, wonderful. And I know you've already had those, whether it's something in your personal life, a relationship, a career, creative endeavor, something in your family, a goal you accomplished, it felt so good. Spiritually, too. And there's great satisfaction in that. And even greater is who we become in the process. Who we become in the process. Knowing our wholeness, our divine power more, being more loving, more accepting, more creative, more at ease at home in our bodies and in our lives. It's who we become in the process, saying yes to those divine ideas. I was remembering when I was a young mother and pushing my son in the stroller, and I was married to a Marine at the time, and we lived in Tustin. And my little son and I, we would take these long walks during the day, and I would always walk by this school, this high school. And I remember looking, they had the windows, and I would see the students sitting inside of the classroom. And I thought, I had felt this pull, like, I want to be a teacher. You know, I didn't know how that was going to happen at that point, but there was this pull. I didn't know how that was going to happen because no one in my family went to college. So that was new territory. And to say, hey, Mom and Dad, I want to do this, I want to go here. I didn't know how that would happen. When I came to Unity, one of the first things I was blessed to have was someone who took me under her wing. And she said, oh, you sing and play guitar. You come and help me with the kids, the youth. And I thought, oh, well, okay. So I started helping out in the youth ed, and my kids would come too. And one time she said, why don't you sing one of your songs? And we'll have the kids do a little activity. So the activity was they would have partners, and they would sing part of it, and then they would go to the next partner. And the song was You Are a Treasure. So this one brother and sister were squabbling when they came in. They just were not happy with each other, you know, this like, that kind of thing. And so we did the song, and guess who ended up holding hands together? The little boy and the little girl, and they were singing this song. And after a few rounds, you could see they just kind of melted, and then they calmed down, and everything was okay. And I walked out of that thinking, there's such power in this sharing, this love, and this possibility, this energy. I can be part of that? Wow. So divine ideas will take you clear out of your comfort zone often. But it's who you become in the process. Greater love. Have you ever been lifted like this? Maybe not recently, but as a child, you know? I remember being up on my father's shoulders like this, and boy, I could see the roof, I could see over the hedge, you know, you can see so much more when you're lifted up. And I remember, like, it was a little scary because he had my legs, but I was holding on to his ears, you know, there wasn't much to hold on to. But that's such a great metaphor for how we are lifted by God. We are lifted and always held, even though it feels a little wobbly, and what are we holding on to? But Spirit has you. God has you. Oh yes, there's the happy anniversary. I love this quote. Isaac Newton, if I have seen further, it is by standing on the shoulders of giants. So who are the giants in your life? Those who inspired you, encouraged you, supported you, believed in you even when you didn't believe in yourself. We all have those. And I bet we have some now, too. So we think about those souls whose words or presence were the spiritual helium that kept our hearts and minds lifted in a confidence to see farther and to step farther. Martin Luther King Jr., as you sang of, yes, lifted for humanity to see farther and step farther. So the giants in our lives, does anyone come to mind for you now? Yeah. So we give thanks for the legacy we've received. And we know that the gifts that we've received from others, that light is the light we carry on. That is the legacy we give too, wherever we are. Have you ever gone to the store and you're in line and, it's kind of chaos and you decide just to be the light. Just to be the light in that checkout line and see what happens. Notice all the babies smiling at you. So our Unity founders, Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, did not plan on starting a church or a religion. In their time, they would go to, everyone in their community would go to their own churches, the Methodist, the Lutheran, the Baptist, not sure about the Catholics, but all the church there. People would go to church and they would go to the Fillmores later on Sunday for prayer. So the Fillmores hosted prayer in their home. And they got together to sit in the silence. There's power in the silence, in that beingness that's kind of beyond words, that oneness. Charles Fillmore called that prayer going to headquarters. So they were open to the evolutionary pull of spirit, the soul's expansion. Myrtle came from a very strict Methodist family. She was guided to seek something wider. And the Fillmores dedicated themselves not to unity, but to the spirit of truth. The spirit of truth, that light that is enduring. And they were also inspired by some great thinkers as well. Emerson, Thoreau, Eastern religions and philosophies. The Bible inspired them to see it as metaphysically or symbolically, to see it as a roadmap of humankind's spiritual evolution that contains wisdom for us today. It's that light of truth, spirit of truth. In the book of John, and I, when I am lifted up from the earth, will draw all people to myself. So you may get a visual of that. But metaphysically, what this means is when we lift up our minds to the light of the Christ mind and take action from this inspired place, all are lifted up. Have you experienced that? Yeah, all are lifted up. So the soul's expansion is an activity that is always stirring within us, always stirring, right now stirring within you. And so to capture our imagination, it is always stirring. So as we work with our faith and imagination this week, here's some questions to ponder. What is my soul calling for? Maybe you've had some inklings of a dream, a vision, an expression that keeps like whispering in you or nudging you. What is my soul calling for? What might that look like and feel like? How would I act now if I knew it was coming? And what if it were easy? What if? So we stand on the shoulders of many great souls, and the shoulders of faith, and the Spirit of truth to light our way. So I'm going to close with an affirmative prayer. And I invite these words to be the silent words of your heart. So with grateful heart, I acknowledge my innate power of faith. And I go forth with positive expectancy and trust in universal good. Divine imagination is my spiritual name and nature. I have eyes to see the good around me, and I have eyes to see the good path before me. I let go and let God and allow myself to be lifted by the light, in the light, and to be living in the light. And so it is.